and Sunday.
We are live. Welcome to the RG DFS Tournament Takes Podcast, Week 7 edition. I am your host, Chris Kirkwood, screen name Kirk D's, here with my two boys. Finally, the band is back together after a week off. At the Big T compound was JSU Rab from Run Pure Sports. Also with my man Bobby Gomes DFS, and we are going to break down this week 7 slate. Good to have you guys back. JSU, I saw that you went there. You got blessed by Big T. He's picked up another 50 grand or something just for him, just allowing you to do that. Very nice of him. Yeah. So congratulations. And it looked like a good time. Who are out there playing basketball against people who suck, just crushing them? Look like I saw you
just dominating the competition as usual, in JSU fashion, and we don't take it easy on anyone. I don't care if it's his 8-year-old son or, Mangone, who's 31 and, can't really play hoops very much. I don't take it easy on anyone, and you got to give it to them sometimes. You got to put them in their place, and that's what happens. So, yeah, it was a fun weekend. Finished it out with a little Monday night shipper and showdown, and it was a good time. So, ready to get back with you boys and hopefully pick some winners for the people.
Big Bobby's here. He's been going through some tough personal stuff, but glad to make the show here. Also been cleaning up diapers, I'm assuming. I had a nice big blowout earlier this morning. I had to wipe down. Man, it's been getting rough. I don't know about you, if it ever gets easier from here, or is it just keep spiraling out of control?
It's crazy because right now, so my aunt was in basically the hospital all summer. My great aunt, she just got out, and she's gonna be fine. We're working her back, but I had to go to my parents' house and basically help out. And it's just like I'm a nurse pretty much all last week. Me and my girlfriend and the kids. So we're trying to work through it. But yeah, I think everything's gonna be good. So that's the best thing, right?
Yeah, you get a little good karma shipper coming your way, and then everything falls into place. So maybe JSU can bless you through the powers of Big T somehow, and then whatever's left over, I'll take.
I brought some of it back to Mass for us.
Well, you got a little. You got water. You got.
I brought something back for the boys, the Massachusetts boys. Any of the Mass.
I'll take a little shot of.
We'll just take a little sip. We'll be good this weekend.
I like that. I like the sound of that.
Week 6, I won, boys. I won, except I won on Yahoo. I crushed on Yahoo, which was much needed. There was a lot of money there. And then I thought DK was the most tilting thing ever. I built my lineups with I wanted to make sure I got Ramondre, and he was good. I wanted Jamar Chase. He was good. I had the chalk Carolina D, which was good. And I had, in order to make the game stat, I wanted that stupid, I keep going back to these freaking Arizona games. So I game stacked Arizona, Seattle. I had Geno, a quarterback. I just needed a below median just a little bit below median performance from Lockett, Metcalf, Geno. And I would have been, I thought I was going to be live for 100K, whatever. And that was just the absolute worst game ever. Complete bust everywhere, and I was so tilted. And I know Bobby saw me because I had all the PMR in the 1500, whatever the game changer. I had all the PMR, and I was right there, cashing, and then it was just a big disappointment. So that was tilting. How'd you guys do?
I saw your team look good. Geno, that whole situation with the Seahawks. Geno, for what it's worth, at 32 years old now, looked super competent, I would say. I think he looks like a stud. It's just they didn't really put it together. I was pulling for you.
They also didn't need to, because freaking Arizona was so bad, and then and Walker was so good on the ground. So Pete Carroll was just so happy to get his running back in his life. He was.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's tough. But it is what it is. It's the game we play, right?
And Arizona defense has actually been better than we've given them credit for lately. And they just, obviously just after last night with the two pick sixes, but when they shadow with Byron, who is it?
Yeah, he's shutting guys down.
Murphy.
Number one,
Yeah.
he's shutting down number one receiver. Outside of Olave last night, I think Olave went for 100. It's the first one to really.
Oh, Olave went for 100 because at the end of the game they were playing friggin' 20 yards back prevent, like just giving them everything like 10, 15 yards up. So
he had like 81 at the half, though.
He did. No, he was fine. But I'm just saying he got some of those catches at the end that helped him get over the top. But Kirkwood, I will say, I couldn't make this show, but I did do the Up the Lock show for the Rumpier subscribers Sunday all the way up. We go from 11:30 all the way to 1, and I'm on that every Sunday. And that was one of my best takes of the week was fading the Seattle Arizona game outside of the 2 running backs, not playing Geno, not playing his receivers, not playing.
Well, thanks for telling me on our show, which you fucking left.
I'm sorry. I couldn't make this show, but yeah, that was one of my best calls. Was actually the Geno fade and the receiver fade, and then playing the Arizona defense on my main team, which I talked about on the show, just because of how popular Geno was, and if you're fading him already, getting more of that leverage by playing the defense, which. Their defense was pretty good. I think scoring-wise, I think they had like 14, which was great. But it just all kind of came together. I did have some Jamar Chase, but unfortunately, I needed a little bit more from Big Gabe at the end. I was up there. I was winning. I did win some money, which was nice. This week.
You missed it though. On our show, I was talking about the Gabe fade the whole show.
You see, we needed to talk a little bit more before this weekend. We would have had the complete nuts, but it was still good though. It was a good weekend overall. I can't complain. Buffalo doesn't stall out on a few of those early drives. I think it's a lot better of a weekend, but. Hey, we move on. That was one of my best bets too. It was Buffalo -2.5. I mean, it was just easy bet. So we pick winners, and we'll do it again this week.
It wasn't that easy though.
I think it was.
It was easy. They should have won by like 10. Easy. They stalled out twice in the beginning where there should have been points. Mahomes, they had nothing for the Bills, like absolutely nothing. When were you as a Bills? Were you a Bills better? Did you bet the Bills or did you bet the Chiefs?
I didn't even bet anyone on it.
But I'm saying if you watch the game, were you ever ooh, the Bills are in trouble? At any point in the game?
I was too busy yelling at fucking Geno Smith and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and fucking Cliff and Pete Carroll and just
I'm sorry for you, Kirkwood.
My friend lost a boatload on Kansas City, though.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get this out of the way right now because people were upset that I didn't give the UFC picks. But unfortunately for them, they should have just kept quiet because I gave 2 losers. Well, one was a loser because he got injured. He knocked him down, and then he got a freak knee injury. So that fight when he had to fight with no leg, Nick Maximov. So that was just tilting. But the other one, the girl lost. It was plus 185. It went to decision. I thought she would grapple a little bit better. I thought she would, probably lose, maybe lose. But I thought the line was just way too high, and I stand by that.
Maximoff, dude, what a hero for even gutting it out. I mean, he got that injury in the very beginning of the fight too. I can't believe he finished the fight.
Yeah, that's the Nick Diaz army, the Nate and Nick Diaz army. So they're all conditioned. Yeah, they should have thrown in the towel. I mean, it was pointless for him to go through it.
I mean, he was getting rolled after that.
He couldn't do anything. He couldn't do anything.
He couldn't do anything.
Couldn't get up.
Toughed it out. I think the opponent too, at the end, he kind of
he let him. He just he didn't go for the kill on him. He didn't want to
He didn't suffocate him on the ground for the whole round. He could have easily done. He
just stalled out. He held him down and stalled it out and did what he had to do. He definitely recognized the situation.
Yeah.
In my opinion, but I'm gonna throw some picks. I got one of my picks got canceled. The fight just got canceled. I had a huge position on, but I got one big position on Kyle Barallo. This kid is a problem. I don't even know if I pronounced it right, but who cares? He is an absolute. He's going to be a huge star in UFC, and he's He's minus 200, which again is not. I mean, it's chalk, but I hammered it, and I also saw that you can. I did a single game parlay on DraftKings. You can take him to just have most takedowns, parlay that with him to win, and it comes out to minus 115. I dumped a ton on that. I think he's gonna. This guy, he's gonna be able to take this guy down. Once he takes him down, this guy's in a world of trouble. That's my
what's
my
his
pick.
Name? Kyle what?
It's CAIO, and it's Baralio.
Baralio. Okay.
Minus 2. This kid. This is the bet. Then the other I'm tempted for the main card. I don't know. They're trying to get me. Everything I've done for research wise trying to get me to bet Islam. The problem is I just love Chucky. I just love Oliveira so much that he's been such a cash cow for me for forever at plus money that I don't know if I can take Islam, but we'll see. Islam is the play, I think, but we'll see. I think Sean O'Malley, everyone thinks is going to get killed. I think he has a decent shot to actually win. He's got a huge height advantage. The other guy starts out, Peter Yan starts out slow, and if this is a kickboxing match for 3 rounds, he might very well be able to win it. I don't think he'll score well on DK unless he gets a knockout or something, but I do think he's live at a nice price there. And then the other one I'm going to bet on Aljamain Sterling over Cheat Dillashaw.
Do you like Jan, did you say?
I think Jan is a great fighter, but I don't like him. I think the price is too high on there. I think O'Malley is much more live than people are giving him credit for it because it's such a huge step up for him. And he's had some bad luck go his way, like against Chito Vera and in his last one against Munoz. And it's also concerning that he fought Munoz and he was real timid to get going. But the thing is, these guys, Peter Yan takes a while to get going too. And it's only a 3-round fight. And if he's got such a height and reach advantage that if he's able to and he's got great footwork, great speed, if he's able to touch him up and keep going around, and it's a big cage out in Abu Dhabi. So I think he's much more live. He's a nice plus 250 or 225 underdog. I think he's definitely live for the price.
And Peter Yan, the good point about him starting off slow for sure, but he has to know 3 rounds. He has to speed it up a little, right?
Yeah, but we haven't seen. But he still did the same thing with Aldo.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. But I mean, it's it's not. I'm not saying that O'Malley's definitely going to win. I'm just saying that the price is too wide, and so over time you gotta take these spots when they present themselves. But I mean, Jan's a killer, absolute killer. So we'll see. But yeah. So, anyways, so let's talk about week 7. Unless did I say how'd you guys do? Bobby, did you chime in? Did I give you your?
I was pretty much. What about last week?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I played Brady. My team in that 1500 was super strong, but I played Brady, and then Brady just looks washed at this point.
It was just every game stack. If you stacked any game, it was just over. You know what I mean?
I had Burrow. I had Burrow a good bit.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Neon Dion is how I won on Yahoo.
So I think that situation was really interesting. If you're talking about how that slate kind of matriculated throughout the weekend, basically having that news come Saturday, I feel like that's always something you can kind of take advantage of in NFL DFS is when these guys that there's not much content on come available around a chalky piece like Eno Benjamin, just taking that player. There were so many guys around Eno that you could have just kind of pivoted to, I feel like. So that's what I'm going to try to be more attentive to this weekend.
Yeah. All right. So week 7, we got buys, the Bills, the Eagles, the Rams, and the Vikings. So that's some star players right there, all on buys. We got no Josh Allen. We got no Hurts. We've got no Cooper Kupp. We got no Justin Jefferson. No Dalvin Cook. This slate is missing a lot of that. We've got one game with a 50-point total, and that's Seattle at the Chargers. Seattle. I don't think I can go there again, but maybe I will. And then we also have the KC 2-point favorites going to San Fran, who just got CMC, and CMC might even actually play this weekend, they're saying, but I don't know. I mean, how much is he going to do? I don't know, but that's got a 49-point total. We've got a nice game with Detroit at Dallas. Dallas is 7-point favorites against Detroit, 48.5-point total. The return of Dak Prescott, right? So we get to see how he looks. Could be a good spot for offense. Then we have Atlanta at Cincy. What happened with Cincy last week? They stopped running Joe Mixon into the ground and actually passed the ball. And you know what? They won. Wow. Who would have thunk? Anyway, so that's a game that, against Atlanta that with a 47.5-point total. Then we got two 45.5-point total games, Cleveland at Baltimore. Like, that game feels like it should go off to me. Cleveland's defense has been pretty bad against the run and the pass. So I think that could be a decent game. And then Houston at the Raiders, 45.5. I know the Blitz is spitting out Derek Carr, so we'll get into that. Blitz always loves Derek Carr. And then we've got two games in the 30s, but that's about it for games. I always look at the Blitz most plays. The ones that are standing out there is the Detroit-Dallas game, KC, San Francisco, Seattle, Chargers. They also have Tampa Bay, Carolina. Carolina's in there every week. Carolina is going to look atrocious this week. I wouldn't be high on that game. That game's going to look a lot different than normal. But correlating that with the Thorman snaps and pace, you get the same three big marquee games: Detroit, Dallas, Seattle, LA, Chargers, KC, San Fran. All those games project to play at a pretty fast pace. So big picture overview. How's the slate looking to you guys? Bobby, take it away.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Get a chalky Josh Jacobs at the top. I think that's always interesting. Someone you can kind of try to leverage at the running back position. And yeah, with the two totals in the 30s, that's not the greatest. A lot of studs are off the slate, but still interested in getting into it. Yeah, that's pretty much my overall look of it.
What do you see, JSU?
Yeah, I mean, the Seattle Chargers game, I think, is going to be very popular for good reason. Justin Herbert had a really, really rough game, I guess, last time out. So, but he's still going to get some ownership. I think if he had like a big game, though, the ownership would be higher because it's just the matchup in Seattle. And Geno coming off the first kind of big stinker he's had in a little bit, I think, from a fantasy perspective, where everyone was on him and he didn't kind of come through, and he's still cheap. So quarterback's going to be really interesting on this slate because there's other guys too. Joe Burrow in a good spot against Atlanta. Dak Prescott coming back in the almost like one of the 2 or 3 nut matchups in Detroit. A reason is because Detroit's defense is terrible, but their offense has been able to move.
And they're getting help. They're getting help.
Exactly. They're getting the health back too with like St. Brown and some of these guys. So that's one thing. But like then you get Dallas, who's a stout defensive team, and honestly looked in my eyes pretty good against Philly. Philly was the better team. I thought Dallas played admirably, honestly, with Cooper Rush at quarterback. I thought their defense played a lot better, especially in that second half. They did the best they could, and, they kept it, pretty close. It could have easily went very sideways after that first half, and I think they did a good job kind of keeping it somewhat close, and at least in range of distance to maybe do something. But, the Eagles are definitely the better team overall. Now they get Dak back, though, for Dallas, so we'll see how much that improves them. You got some other cheap guys. Mariota looked okay last week. Lamar is going to be, I think Lamar and Justin Herbert are the 2 quarterbacks at the top people are going to play. I don't think as many will play Pat Mahomes. I think it'll go those 2 and then Pat Mahomes for ownership. But it's definitely a very interesting slate.
Yeah, so let's start it off running back position, then we'll go to quarterback, lead it over to wide receivers, touch on our tight ends before we give Bobby Gomes DFS, the defensive segment that everybody is here for. So running back, Bobby's already started it off and mentioned this. We've got chalk Josh Jacobs. Now, full disclosure, chalk Josh Jacobs went absolutely ham the last time he was chalk the other week ago against Denver. 37.5 fantasy points. Now, the thing with him, they're playing Houston, who's 29th in DVOA versus the run. So it's a good spot. Home favorite, again, nice spot, but it's the usage. So first of all, he's week 5. Basically the last 2 games, he's about at 81% snaps. He's averaged 29.5 touches the last 2 games. I mean, the usage has just been insane, right? Like 28 rushes against Denver, 21 against the Chiefs in a spot where you're normally passing a ton against the Chiefs. He did have 5 receptions and 5 targets against them. And the week before that in Denver, he had 6 targets and 5 receptions. And the week before that against Tennessee, 6 targets, 5 receptions. So he is a 3-down running back pretty much. And the usage is there. So to me, this seems like good chalk. So I'll let you guys tell me how to handle that.
I mean, personally, I think there's a lot of running backs on this slate that are going to be popular and are good, honestly, chalk pieces. I think you just got to make your stand on some of them and go as heavy as you can. And you got to fade some of them. Like last week, I faded, for instance, I thought there was a lot of similar thing. I thought there was a lot of really good running back plays. So I faded Stevenson. And on the outside looking in, you're going to say, well, that was a pretty bad fade. Like he got there, but
he barely got there.
He barely got there, and he got there at the end. I don't know why he came back in on that 3rd down. I don't know if you guys watched the game, but like they were up. It was, there was only a couple minutes left in the game. They were right around the 8-yard line or some 5-yard line, wherever it was. And the Harris kid, the kid they brought up, got the first 2 carries, 1st down, 2nd down.
I was so happy.
And then he bangs that touchdown in for
but you know what?
Played him. And
that
goes from 16 to like 25 or whatever he had.
That was justice for him getting snuffed 2 times earlier.
He got stuffed a few times for sure. Like he got stuffed a few times. But I'm just saying though, you got to make those plays. Like you can't just play every single chalk play on the slate. So those are stands you got to make. And sometimes you're going to lose. Like at the end of the day, that probably hurt me. Now, I didn't lose money at the end of the day, and I didn't have him on one single team. So I was still okay. But it just goes to the point of we got Josh Jacobs pushing 30%, probably. Who knows what he gets up to. Now, I will say the last time he was chalk, he came in at 6% in the Million Maker. So just keep that in mind. But you got Leonard Fournette, who's going to be probably popular. Kenneth Walker, who's in a really good spot against the Chargers, who really struggled to stop the run. Dameon Pierce on the other side of Josh Jacobs against the Raiders, who I think is also just really talented, and he's going to be somewhat popular. The guy I like the most, though, and I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, but I think the top running back on the slate is Austin Eckler. And he's 8,300. I don't know if that kind of keeps his ownership somewhat in check. If he comes in between like 10 and 15%, though, I would love Austin Eckler at around 10 to 15% in one of the 2 or 3 best spots on the slate from a matchup perspective. You get Seattle, who besides against Arizona, they have not been able to stop the run all year, and they're getting killed. And if somehow that becomes a back and forth game where Eckler's involved in the passing game as well, you could just see the massive ceiling that someone like Austin Eckler could have. Now you have the downside of if the Chargers, whoop them, they could pull them, after 2.5 quarters, of course. But at the same time, Seattle's shown a lot of this year that when teams are scoring on them, they can put points up and keep it interesting. So I really like those 2 running backs in that game. I like Kenneth Walker on the Seattle side, and I like Austin Eckler. I think either way the game shakes out, both of these running backs get there because they're both used as runners and pass catchers. So to me, it doesn't matter who gets up. Like normally you'd be worried sometimes if you have a running back, maybe like Dameon Pierce, and the other team gets up because, maybe they throw a little bit more down the field. But when you got pass catching running backs, you don't worry about it as much. So I think those are my 2 favorite plays at running back with the ownership included, like the popular running backs. I really like those two guys.
Sorry, you said Eckler and who you Walker is the other one?
And Kenneth Walker, the two in the same game. Because I really believe it doesn't matter how the game shakes out as long as it's just not a complete blowout one way or the other.
I mean, they're both in great spots. The Chargers 22nd DVOA versus the run, Seattle 21st DVOA versus the run. Like you said, the passing, it's all the passing work that Eckler gets that just makes you feel so comfortable. And I have to think that a lot of his, big games and 10 receptions in his last game against Denver, I have to think a lot of it is because Herbert isn't, with his rib injury or whatever. I just don't think he's fully healthy and able to like chuck it the way that he should be. So I think that only helps Austin Eckler. The matchup is really strong. He's also fourth in red zone touches. It's the target share, though. He's got a 20.5% target share, which is massive for a running back. So, I mean, he's the number one running back right now in fantasy. So it's hard to really say anything bad about him. Kenneth Walker looked awesome, was explosive. The Chargers have allowed the fourth most fantasy points per game to running backs. So Pete Carroll must be drooling over this matchup here. So yeah, I like both of these guys. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm in on Eckler. I think that's a really good call. I like Walker. I think JT is interesting at 8-1, right? Like he's JT. We're getting him versus Tennessee. He's a guy that I think is going to be significantly lower owned than he probably should be. And just for that reason, I'm going to try to be in on JT this week. I know that offensive line's been absolutely brutal, but what can you do? It's just a bet on talent for me. And then AJ Dillon, I think he's going to be super cheap. He hasn't really broke out yet this year, but this Green Bay offense, if they want to get going, I think they're going to try to get Dillon going on the ground. And it's a good spot versus Washington, so I don't mind going to him. Those would be two off the board plays. In terms of Josh Jacobs chalk, I think I'll likely be under. You have Swift there. Swift's coming back. He's at 6.5. I think it's an easy pivot off. He's going to be lower owned. He'll probably get steamed up throughout the weekend, but he'll still come in under Jacobs. Just playing him over Jacobs and probably playing him where Swift's ownership is for the field is probably how I'm going to approach it, I think. Yeah, and then Dameon Pierce in that same game with Jacobs. I don't mind going to Pierce versus Vegas. I think that's just like he's 6'4", Jacobs 6'5". I think he's someone I'm interested in terms of getting different. I think you can make that play going to Dameon Pierce. That's kind of it for me at running back.
So one thing we've talked about is two chalk running backs this week who are good running backs who had massive games against Denver, right? And then we have right here in this range that no one even touched on yet, but is in that range, Breece Hall at 6,200 at Denver. I mean, it's tough if you just watch. He passes the eye test. He is electric. He's good in the passing game. It has a big play upside. Why not use him this week?
I think Breece is definitely in play. Like I skipped over Breece, but he's at 6.2. I was on Breece a ton last week. I just think he's in a really strong spot. I don't mind going to him versus the Broncos.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's definitely someone like I have him. I think third on my list, like with price included against Denver. Denver's tough to throw on because they're so aggressive, but they can be ran on. And on top of it, sometimes they're too aggressive to the point where you get those like pass interference calls that put you down in the goal line and red zone situation where then the running back kind of takes over. So Denver's in shambles right now. I think the Jets win that game too. Like that was, I think Breece Hall is a great spot, especially if you think the Jets could be up in this game and win the game. I definitely think you should be on Breece.
I got two more to touch on. Well, so one looks like Joe Mixon's going to be pretty chalky at 7K. He's just right outside of that top three is what I'm seeing for ownership. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts with him? Because I just think since he would be dumb to just try to feed him again, right? Like, first of all, it's much better passing matchup for Cincy, and would much rather just see them air it out again. Because I mean, it actually worked when they start throwing the ball, and that their offense is they have so many freaking passing weapons with Jamar Chase. Higgins is healthy. All signs are that he's completely healthy this week. They still got Tyler Boyd, Hayden Hurst, so they have a lot of passing weapons. So I'm on the fade Mixon, but should I be looking at it the other way?
I mean, I don't really like Mixon. I think Bobby gave the best pivot off of someone like Mixon, which is Swift, right in between Mixon and Josh Jacobs and Pierce. I think Swift for tournaments makes sense. He's always got that kind of big upside. And if they're trailing, which I think a lot of people just assume Dallas is going to win this game, and so you assume Dallas is probably up a lot of this game, kind of sets up for a guy like DeAndre Swift. Now, I don't know what they're going to do from a workload perspective, ease him back in, which kind of worries me, but he just has so much big play ability that 6'8". I think it's fine as long as he comes in the 5% range. If he gets steamed up to 10 or 12 or 15%, I won't like the play as much. I like him if he's going to be in that single digit ownership, which I think he will be, but you never know as we get, it's still Friday. So as we get to Sunday, you never know,
you know what I'm scared of. I kind of feel I don't play this guy, is that I feel like it's going to be the Zeke troll game where he's just going to fall in the end zone 3 times or 2 times and smoke us for 6K. But I'm not going to be playing him personally. You guys have any interest?
I don't mind him if you're correlating him with St. Brown and you think Dallas is going to win this game, just because a lot of people are going to play CD, going to St. Brown 7-1 and then running Zeke back. It's kind of leverage off of CD Lamb.
I'm not on Zeke. I can't play him on a main slate where he's going to get ownership. I would assume.
Oh, is he getting? I didn't even realize he was getting.
If he's double-digit ownership,
he's going to be 10%, or something.
I just can't play. If he was going to be 5% and it was maybe, but he's 6K. There's so many good running backs that are going to come in at 15%, right in his range. I would just play those guys. I can't play Zeke.
Speaking of good,
more on the passing game.
Speaking of good running backs, who's freaking real good? Who I hate his timeshare though is Travis Etienne. Bobby, I think you called him last week. Travis Etienne.
He came out firing and then he just totally went away. It's just that split is just. It's just too much. He had 46% of the snaps, Robinson 43% of the snaps. But he is electric, man. If they just keep moving him up, he's got massive big play ability. He just looks so damn fast and good out there. I really like how he catches the ball out of the backfield too. Catches it with his hands. He looked a little nervous in the first couple games, but it looks like he's coming into his own now.
At least his role seems like it's starting to get ahead of James Robinson, where in the beginning of the season, it looked like James Robinson was ahead of him and they were slowly bringing him up. It now looks like they're slowly moving towards him getting more and more work, which I think is good for him fantasy wise. And I think eventually he will have one of those breakout games where he just breaks off a big play along in the beginning of the game and has 20 plus fantasy points, and he's still cheap to the point on DraftKings where you can play him. I think
I'm going to be super overweight in MME looking at that price tag and just trying to get ahead of it on ETN.
All right. Whenever I see Nick Chubb at under 3% projected ownership, I'm definitely interested. I know he had an awful game last week, and I don't care. I like that. So it just sets up even more to bring his ownership down. He like we've said in previous shows, when he has gone off, when this guy has a good game, he can break slates. And you're playing him because of the ownership discount and because people don't play him because of the timeshare and everything. I think that this Ravens Browns game could pop off. And if that's the case, Chubb at under 3% ownership, or even if he gets to under 5% ownership, sign me up.
I don't hate that call at all.
I feel like this is the pro Nick Chubb show. We always talk him
We
up.
always, I think all this might be the only.
It is true though. If you're getting, he's another guy. Like when you're just getting the ownership discount, he has the ceiling. It's just it sucks when he loses, goal line work to Kareem Hunt. It sucks, but that's the risk you take in playing Nick Chubb. So
Is
I
it
feel
not
like
the
we say it
easiest
every week.
tournament play though? No one plays it just because everyone's so projection oriented, and his ceiling is so massive. I don't understand why more people aren't there just because of the projection.
And Bob, for the way you play, like it doesn't take a lot to get overweight, right?
No, not at all.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just gonna say, like, if he comes in at 5%, what do you get? Like 15, 20%, and you're 4x the field, pretty much. Like
that's what I'm trying to. Yeah, pretty much.
Is Dante Foreman going to become chalk now? So it's Friday morning when we're doing this show. Last night the CMC trade went down to San Francisco, so it's going to be Foreman and Chuba Hubbard battling it out. But they're both min price, right? They should be. Foreman is Chuba Hubbard 4,500. They're both cheap. Are these guys going to become chalk? Is there one of them better play than the other? Any takes on this?
I like Foreman. I think Foreman showed a lot last year when he was backing up Henry. It's a tough matchup versus the Bucks. If he is at 4K, I could see people gravitating towards him and getting steamed up just because of the price tag. It's still a tough matchup, though. I think you have to weigh that, kind of see where everything settles at the end of the weekend.
I think personally they are going to give Foreman the first chance, pretty much. But I do think in the end it's just going to become a split. Pretty much is how I see it, where Chuba and him end up splitting most of the work. Maybe it's 55-45, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, I think it's close enough. But hey, they're cheap. If you see, maybe Hubbard gets. I actually probably like Hubbard more because he's $500 more, but he's still really cheap. And I think everyone's going to play Foreman over Hubbard. So I think his ownership will go up as the weekend goes because we just kind of got that news about like what their plan is. So I do think Foreman will get some ownership bump, but at the same time, I don't think Chuba is getting any ownership. So I think I'll take the guy with no ownership.
One more thing. All right, so we've talked about Zeke and his ability to troll us, right? Like with falling in the end zone, could be a good play at lower ownership. Maybe he's getting a little too high of ownership if he gets steamed up. But like the Detroit defense is bad, right? Who has the big playability between Zeke and Tony Pollard? It's Pollard, right? Like he's the guy, he's the electric back that could bust off a freaking 80-yard touchdown or something against this defense. So why aren't we talking about him?
I think that's a super sharp call on Pollard. He's getting zero ownership. He's at 5.7. It's in the
The problem is he could go for a 70-yard touchdown and then they still go back to Zeke. That's the tilting thing about it is it's annoying. But
it should just be Pollard, right? Like at this point, I just don't know why they keep.
Should have been Pollard last year.
Maybe the year before.
Yeah, I don't know. It's wild.
All right, anybody we're missing?
I mean, Brian Robinson got a lot of touches his second on a short week on Thursday night football after playing Sunday. Went from 9 attempts to 17 attempts. More of a rusher, but I do think they just want him to be the guy. Antonio Gibson is going to get just completely phased out eventually, I think. And he's just going to be the man at 5,500. Depends on ownership, but I think he's a guy that if he's going to be low owned or not get as much ownership, I would have a little more like interest in him than a guy like Tony Pollard, who I just don't think they're going to give him enough to be like that guy. But I think Brian Robinson has a chance to like get in the end zone twice, like literally, and it's what we want.
Yeah. So thank you for pointing this out, because if you look at Green Bay, 32nd in DVOA versus the run, they've allowed the highest rushing success rate in the NFL. 27th in rushing yards per game. They're right at the top there, like the most explosive runs allowed. Yeah, man. And plus him coming out to 50, man, was so.
Was
good.
that real or was that
Yeah.
talk?
They played it.
I love how Kirk just tried to jam out on the show, just get a little, just put his head down, just bob a little bit. I liked it. We might need to make that a segment.
But anyway, I mean, how can you not root for the guy, right?
I think they want him to be the guy.
He is the guy. He is the guy. Yeah. And what if they could, if Green Bay lays up another stinker, which they've just been, like, what is their deal? I don't know. But I mean, I'm looking at projected ownership of under 2%. Like, I love this play.
And you got to think with Heineke back in it, he's going to quarterback, I think, right? Because no Wentz. So with Heineke back, they're going to want to just try and run the football as much as they can, right? Like, they're going to want to try and, beat Green Bay, kind of control the clock if they can, keep Rodgers off the field, keep Heineke in third and shorts and really just try and pound Green Bay. Because Green Bay, like you said, they've struggled to stop teams running the football. And, yeah, I mean, I think it makes some sense, especially if you think Washington can hang in this game, which I do. Because
they're at home.
Yeah, I don't know what from Green Bay makes you think that, really, they're stomping on any team right now. They're in a mess. Like, after Denver, they're next in line right now.
I'll play that with Bobby. If Bobby gives me the okay, Bobby defense, I'll play that with the Washington defense. A little correlation there, 2,500 plus a cheap.
You can't give defensive takes till the end. Don't be spoiling it for the people.
The end. Yeah, you're spoiling.
Give me a hint. Give me a hint. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I think it's in play.
All right. So that's running back. All right. Let's move it on over to quarterback. Well, I'm showing that Geno is going to be the highest owned. I don't know if I can do it after last week. Guy just ripped my soul. But he's going to be the highest owned. I get it. It's a great game environment. And the thing is that they haven't. The Chargers have been much worse against the run, right? And so this just screams like a running game to me, like where they just use Walker more and Geno is more just of a game manager in this game again, and he's not they're not letting him rip like they were in the very beginning because people weren't expecting that and whatnot. So like Bobby said, I don't think Geno didn't play bad last week. They just didn't do it. They just totally didn't target. They didn't have to do anything but really run the ball.
I think it was just the game and how everything kind of broke down. He looked good. He didn't look any different than how he looked in the first couple of weeks. They just the game plan kind of went away from it.
Then there's Joe Burrow, who I love. Keep pass and go, light it up. That's what this offense was designed to do. He had 35 fantasy points, 37 attempts last week. He threw for over 300 yards, 3 TDs. That's what I want. He rushed for a TD. That's always in play when they get down there with him. Then there's Derek Carr, which I'm not really a big fan of, unless you're using it as the leverage off Josh Jacobs and just playing the passing game, which I do get. But I just think that this is going to be a running game against Houston at home as a favorite. Interesting to hear your takes on that. Then there's Herbert, there's Dak, there's Lamar, and then there's Bobby's favorite, Mr. Tom Brady. What are you thinking at quarterback this week, JSU?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some good options here. Just looking at the top, I'm going to be super overweight on Eckler. Now, I could do that and still play Herbert because Eckler's one of those guys. He can easily catch touchdowns. So I don't think it's something where you need to fade the quarterback. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to end up playing it. I might play Geno this week. I was off Geno last week. My thing with Geno is you have to be confident that the team that he's going against can put the ball in the end zone. And I do. I feel confident, even though the Chargers struggled a little bit last time out, I do feel confident this is like a bounce back spot against Seattle where they're going to be able to throw, run, and kind of clean some stuff up against the Seattle team, which will force Geno to have to throw. Like you guys said, he was not really forced to have to just score points. they were up and they kind of just rode that to the end. But I think in this game they're gonna be forced. I think the Chargers bounce back here and score some points and score some touchdowns. And I think Geno has to reciprocate, and I think he will. I think he will bounce back. So this will probably be the first time all year I play Geno Smith, which sounds gross.
All right, I'm back. I'll play him.
All right, look at that. That was easy, Bobby. I only had to talk for like a minute and a half. That was easy sell. Other guys, though, that I'm looking at, Joe Burrow for sure. I think you can look at. My only issue with Joe Burrow is I hate playing guys that just go off for the ceiling nut game the week before after kind of having some not so great fantasy games for most of the season, and then you play him after he had the best game. So I think I'm going to be in on Joe Burrow receiving options. I don't know if I'll play Joe Burrow, though, just for that factor of he literally just had like his best game of the year. Who knows if he tops it, but like 35, 36 fantasy points. Like, I don't love playing guys coming off of that. So I'll probably not play him. I think Dak's interesting, especially if you're fading Zeke and you think Detroit can score a little bit on Dallas, which I struggle. But at the same time, I think Dak comes in lower owned than Joe Burrow, lower owned than Herbert, kind of these guys at the top I'm looking at. I think Brady gets around the same ownership, maybe a little higher, but I think Dak's interesting. And who was the other guy I had? Lamar. I agree with you. I think that game could shoot out, Kirk. So I will definitely have a little bit of Lamar. I think he's the guy at the top I'll probably be exposed to out of those top three.
Just such an easy stack with Andrews, too. Is Bateman back?
I think he was supposed to be back this week. Pretty sure he's practiced and limited. I think he's gonna play, or he's gonna have a good shot to play this week.
And Andrews has been banged up, and they're saying he's possibly in jeopardy of missing. That might give you a more reason, even if he does.
Isaiah Likely would be
smash
a really good cheap option if. I even think Josh Oliver would make some sense too, just because they play a lot of two tight end, sets. So both.
And even if he's out there, if he's hurt, maybe that helps a guy like Bateman.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Any interest in Bobby's guy, Tom Brady?
Definitely not.
That game's just going to be gross, right?
I'm back in.
Gross. You're back in. He says you're back. You're going to play PJ Walker?
No, I'm playing Brady.
You're going to play Brady stacks, just onslaught Brady stacks, no Panthers.
Brady and Evans. I don't have to run it back.
Okay.
Brady, Evans, Fournette. Why are we not the flop lag is there? I think squeaky wheel narrative with Evans. It sounds disgusting. I just decided I was going to do it within the last 5 minutes too. It's just because I don't want to be like one of those guys that I don't just play my guy. Like, I'm not one of those guys that, I need to play this guy because I'm a fan. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like those are the worst takes.
No, maybe you're pot committed is what the feeling.
That's what I think.
Maybe after last week, I could have just. The thing is, I played Burrow too. I had been slamming Burrow. I should have just slammed Burrow last week again. I don't know if I'm gonna get Brady low owned, get Mike Evans. The thing is, Brady looks so bad. Like he looks atrocious. That's pretty much my issue. But yeah, he's gonna be not owned, and I can play Evans. I don't think Evans is gonna be too popular. Godwin's always popular, but there are weapons there. Fournette in the game script that he has, maybe this is the Brady week when everyone's just totally off.
The thing that I can see is that they're who is going to push? How is Carolina going to push Tom Brady? Like, how are they going to?
I think his motivation is that AB's banging his wife. No, I'm joking. I don't think we can say that. I don't even want to say if that's true. I don't know, but I think it's going to come eventually where he's going to end up popping off. So, yeah.
But we haven't even mentioned Mahomes.
I like Mahomes. I like Kelsey a ton this week. Why are we not? I know San Fran is. We didn't even really hit on like the CMC situation enough. I feel like, but
Well, we don't know if he's playing.
We don't know if he's playing. Yeah.
Yeah,
You want to
and like they do like they have like crazy design stuff. You would think it'd be a little hard for them to pick it up from day one. They'll probably just get him settled in and do some easy runs with him, maybe some easy screens. But
I agree. The scheme's got to be a little tough to just learn off the bat. Like,
it's like one cut and go, though, right?
Which I think he's fine with. I think he'll be good at it. I'm just saying from a playbook perspective, they might give him like 20 plays, though, honestly. Just like get your feet wet, nothing too crazy, simple concepts where he can just go out there and
get
a few touches.
I think that's how it's going.
I hope he doesn't play. I don't want him to play. I think the best play on the slate for tournaments is Debo.
Love Debo.
Me and JSU think alike so much, dude.
Debo, listen, so the way the Chiefs play defense, they're super aggressive. They love the blitz. I think that's a huge mistake if you do it against a guy like Jimmy G, because the one thing Jimmy G can do, if he can get the ball out, which he can get the ball out quick, and San Francisco schemes this a lot, is getting the ball to their receivers and letting them just kind of make the play. And Debo is like the best at it in the world. Like literally the dude breaks like 6 tackles on one run. So if you blitz like that, he's going to have to literally beat one man and he's gone. Like, so I think they have to be really careful about how aggressive they are against Jimmy G. So if they don't do that, then some dude's getting peppered for like 10 plus targets in this game for San Francisco. And I think it could still be Debo. But if they are aggressive, like I think they will be, just because that's their style. It's kind of hard to change your style of play just for like one simple, especially defensively. That's the way you do it and you go for it. I think the Chiefs and Spags, they're gonna blitz, and I think that's a mistake. If Debo gets the ball in space, one move and he's gone. I think it happens.
He's a yak monster. He's so good. Not only I worry about him with McCaffrey going forward. Like that was like my biggest worry about him. But like I agree. I don't really worry about it this week. I would think that they're still gonna play with the guys that know their system. And I think Debo. I mean, the Chiefs are 28th DVOA versus the pass. Jimmy's gonna get that ball out quick. He's going to have to. They're going to have to score. Right? You would think Kansas City is going to be putting pressure on them to move back and forth in this game. So this is perfect spot for Debo. So I love him. Plus, I mean, he's got a great. It doesn't feel like it, but he's got a great target share. He's close to 30% target share. He's third in yard after the catch. Like I said, he's a yak monster. Tyreek Hill is another yak monster. For obvious reasons for his speed, but Debo is right there in that conversation. So. And there could be a real increase in passing volume in this game because they have to. So, let's go. Debo, let's do it. I played him last week on Yahoo. It did my main lineup. It didn't really matter that he had a subpar game because I had Neon Dion, baby. All right. Who else? So that's quarterbacks, right? Like, I'm going to keep it simple, I think. I mean, I love Lamar, like you guys said. I think that game could pass out. He's still first. He's the rushing king for quarterbacks. He's first in rushing yards. The problem is he's second in rushing attempts. He's third in rushing TDs. That's the problem is he's not, it hasn't correlated from the touchdowns of this season so far. But I think there's massive variance upside here, touchdown regression potential where he could just, have one of those big rushing touchdown games, especially in this matchup against Cleveland. I mean, we all died to play, not you because you faded him, but the reason that Ramondre was such chalk was not only the role but was also the matchup. And this is Lamar is the best running back in the game. He just happens to be a quarterback. So I'm in, and I don't want to get like too cute. I don't think there's any reason to get too cute with anyone else. Like I'm not touching Matt Ryan. I'm not touching Davis Mills. Not touching Daniel Jones. I could play a little Mariota. Trevor Lawrence is dead to me. Guy who cost me a lot of money a couple weeks ago. I'm too bitter to go back there. Aaron Rodgers has looked like shit. I tried to give him a little love last week when people were giving me flack about his thumb injury and whatnot, and I maybe I give in at this point because he looked pathetic. But part of me still thinks that he could go off, but I think I'm good at quarterback with just
I think Mariota makes a little bit of sense. I worry about his ultimate ceiling because they just don't throw enough like Atlanta. Like even in close games or when they're still the volume from throwing isn't there, but he always has the rushing upside, which is nice. So I think if you're looking for someone outside of Geno Smith, he's one. And then, I mean, if you love stacking Dallas and you're playing like CD and Zeke, you have to think Goff or somebody's putting up points, right? Like if you're playing a multiple Dallas.
I can't play Goff against that pass rush.
I can't either, honestly, but I'm just saying in my head, like thinking out loud.
I know it's like
CD,
we like Swift,
Zeke.
we like Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? We're gonna name all these weapons. We'd probably play Hawkinson. It's like, and we don't like the quarterback, so it does make sense that we should like it. But I just have visions of him getting sacked after sack.
The thing with it is Dallas's defense, they're just so aggressive. They jump routes. It could bite them in the ass. You just never know, like the way they play, but they're so friggin' good. And Micah Parsons is an animal. He's just the real deal. Probably the best player in football, honestly.
All right, let's move it on over to wide receiver, who we're going to be pairing in our stacks, who we also like just as standalone plays or small, skinny stacks. When I say that, I mean like just correlate like one wide receiver with like a running back from the same game or a wide receiver with the opposite wide receiver from the other team. But anyway, the chalk, CeeDee Lamb is going to be chalky, and for good damn reason. First of all, they're playing Detroit, 31st DVOA versus the pass. Teams just erupt against him. He's the only player to have a minimum of 8 targets in every game. He's actually putting up decent numbers with Cooper Rush. Now he gets his main guy, Dak, back. Also, their team's getting healthier in general. Gallup is now back, has been playing. So their passing game is healthier. He's first in target share in the league. That's impressive, 33 and a third percent. And Detroit has been giving up a ton of deep passing, and Lamb leads all Dallas receivers in deep targets. So this is like a smash spot for CeeDee Lamb, but it'd be interesting your guys' takes on the ownership, because he is going to be north of 20%, may steam 30, even higher potentially in a small field, higher dollar single entry stuff and three max and whatnot. But how are you guys playing CD?
Yeah, so I think CD's probably a good chalk play if you wanted to pivot. You can go to Amon-Ra. He's only 200 more. He's in the same game, 7,100. JSU hit on Debo. He's 500 more or 600 more. I think he's very in play in terms of like trying to get different. DK Metcalf, everyone's going to play Lockett, I think. You just go to Metcalf in that game that we like, the Chargers and Seattle. So I think that those are interesting pivots in that situation. Not even that you have to pivot. Like I probably field CD. But just guys around him that I like. T. Higgins is going to be someone who's going to be pretty chalky. I can still see Chase getting some steam too. So I don't know if I'm going to go right back there, but I understand why that game is going to be like Atlanta defense has been pretty good, right? Like they haven't been
completely underrated defense.
Completely underrated, exactly. Yeah, so I don't mind staying away from those guys. Brandon Cooks. I had 6K for your run backs in Vegas. He'll probably be everyone's favorite run back while he's showing the ownership that he's showing, but I think he's probably fine. 6K is good chalk too. So I don't know. I think my favorite pivot off CD would be Amon-Ra.
The thing about Jamar is that he's going to get shadowed by AJ Terrell, who's been very good in shadow coverage. It just screams to me like this is such an easy T. Higgins spot. When like people kind of like forgot about him because Jamar went off and he wasn't really healthy last week, and he had to gut his way through that game. But like all the numbers scream Higgins, especially, and then you throw in the fact that Chase is going to be shadowed. So Higgins is going to be my guy this week. So unless you guys talk me off of him right now.
No, I get that. Like, it makes sense. It's kind of reflecting it in projections. I think Higgins is going to be chalky, but I get why you would play him for that reason. So I don't mind the Higgins call.
Yeah, so I got a few takes on this. First of all, I kind of love if he's going to be shadowed by anybody, because the worry more for me is what teams have been doing, which is rolling coverage over to his side to like add help, pretty much keep that safety over him, which is where he struggled a little bit and where some of the play calling has obviously hurt him too. So he has to have those like big plays after the catch, because it's tough to get those down the field plays when you have that type of rollover coverage with the safety and stuff like that. But if he's going to be shadowed, and the Falcons do play a lot of man-to-man, and if they're just going to leave their cornerback out on an island, which I don't know if they will, honestly, I wouldn't, but I don't care who it is. I'll take Chase and take my chances if that's the case. So I definitely like Chase. I get playing T. Higgins, though. I think that Chase is just in such a good spot. It's tough to look over him. And then I do have a take with CD, because my favorite receiver is actually Michael Gallup for Dallas. And everyone's going to play CD. He's probably going to be like 30%, and I get why. But Michael Gallup is 5,100. I think he's 6K on FanDuel. And he and Dak have good rapport too. And he's someone who he's always been able to get down the field, have big plays down the field, down the sideline. I think CD is more likely to rack up a bunch of receptions, but like Michael Gallup can make big plays down the field. And if he's not going to get ownership, I'll take my chances with him against this Detroit team, where they're going to have to they're going to definitely focus more on CD than anyone else on that team. So Michael Gallup's going to definitely get a lot of one-on-one, and I think Dak's going to take shots. I think one thing we're going to see for sure is Dallas let Dak be aggressive. Just try and show him off. You get Detroit, he comes back after a lot of people were talking about Cooper Rush and, what are they going to do? And obviously Cooper Rush lost to Philly, so everyone like closed that and just said, oh, Dak's, way better now. But like prior to that game, there was conversation like, what do they do if they win? Like, what do they do with Dak or Cooper Rush? So I think Dak's going to want to go out there and kind of, show that he's still the guy, and it's a good spot to come back for against Detroit. So I really like Gallup.
Let me add to that. That was in my mind when I said that Lamb, leads Dallas in deep targets, but that's because Gallup hasn't been there. He's been injured. And, Detroit is 30th in DVOA versus the deep ball in general. So I think that's a really good call, Gallup, because he is their deep guy,
And he's been used that way in the past. So why not? Especially if you're getting the ownership discount, there's a pricing discount. There's just, discount in general. I think it makes sense just as a leverage play. I really do like too another guy, Amari Cooper, who I doubt will get ownership, but look at his work. Just the last 5 games, he's had 10 targets, 11, 4, 12, and 12. Like, that's a lot of targets. And it's besides that game against Atlanta, which I'll call that a fluke one, but he's been getting work. And 20 plus fantasy points in 3 of those last 5 games. He has a ceiling. He's 6,100 against Baltimore. I said I like points in this game. I think there is points scoring. Baltimore's aggressive at times. And Cooper, I always have said this, I think he's one of the best route runners in all of football. Doesn't get enough credit for how good of a route runner he is. And it's just that means he's open a lot. Like, you got to have the quarterback to get him the football, but it shows you from what I just read, just those targets alone, they're trying to get him the football and get him out in space and get him making plays. And I think it's a really good spot at no ownership. For the most part anyway. So I really like him as a tournament play.
Yeah, I like it too. There's a lot to like with him in that game. The Baltimore's defense is kind of under. They were terrible in the beginning, but they've kind of straightened things out with their passing attack. But he's the wide receiver play in this game, in a game that we both said that we like to go off, or it has a good chance to go off. So I'm on board there. What do you got, Bobby?
We got a Jets receiver down too, right? Elijah Moore's out.
Good. Yeah. I think. Yeah. He's not going to right there. He can't play after coming out and demanding a trade, right?
That's what
he was at.
He was. I think they already ruled him out, though.
They did rule him out.
I think they already ruled him out. I'll double check real quick, but I'm pretty sure I saw something about him already being ruled out.
Won't play. The coach said he won't play in week 7.
Yeah, no way he should play. Like, when you sit on the bench and pout like Robbie Anderson, or you demand a trade, just no way coaches should be playing those type of guys. So just get rid of them. But again, Denver's not a team I want to pick. It's crazy because they're not a team I want to pick on, but they do have cheap options, so it's tough not to look at them. One other guy I wanted to get your thoughts on, because I think he's just nasty. So I want to get you guys' thoughts, because I think he'll be someone, as long as he can stay healthy, that'll be in play a lot. But Wan'Dale Robinson, he only played 23% of the snaps last week. I think that goes up a little bit. I think he's just good too. I think he's just really good. Plays that inside role too, which I like with Daniel Jones. What do you guys think about him? I think he's still cheap too. I think he's in the 4K range.
I like Wan'Dale. I don't mind going there. Shows the explosiveness. They kind of lacked that prior to him really coming alive last weekend. So I think they're going to continue to utilize him. Kirk, you have any thoughts there?
Two worries, right? You alluded to it. Is first of all, his opportunity hasn't been great. He only had 22% of the snaps. He only ran 11 routes. He split the slot role with Richie James, so his usage is concerning. However, no one's going to play him for those reasons, and maybe he showed enough. That he looked electric. He got in the end zone. That maybe they increased his playing time like a competent team would normally do. But we don't know that. And the only other thing is I just have a feeling this game is probably really gross and slow paced. But yeah, I would like to be optimistic on him. I think the talent is there, like you said. Ownership is going to be non-existent, right?
That's what I mean. From an ownership standpoint, I think he's got a chance to have his role bumped too, like you said. I think there's a very reasonable possibility. Because listen, they drafted this kid. They're not going to give all season Richie James the spot over him all season. It's gonna flip, and if you catch it on the right week where it does flip, and Wan'Dale gets 60% of the snaps and Richie gets 20, he's a great play.
He starts off with a 45-yard touchdown, and then he gets massive usage the rest of the game.
They don't have anyone else.
That's how you win a Millie Maker,
Yeah. Yep.
Not that I know.
Mike Evans.
Bobby knows. Bobby should say that, not me.
Yeah, Bobby should. Me and you can't talk when it comes to Millie Makers.
You guys will be there eventually, I feel like.
But you want to keep talking about Mike Evans? I thought you already
Mike
talked
Evans
about
is 6'9". Mike Evans is a good play this week.
Oh, 69. I might have to play some Mike Evans at 6'9".
Exactly. There you go.
He's I'm always in on Mike Evans. He's the alpha. It's okay, we can play Godwin. No, we can play the alpha.
Yeah, play the alpha.
All right. I can be sold on, and he's a good pivot if you're not playing CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like it, Bobby. I'll come on board I'm not playing Tom, but I'll play Mike Evans.
Feels so bad.
Tom's saying he's never retiring. He's not even thinking about retiring now.
Good. He shouldn't.
The only reason he was thinking about it in the first place is because of one person. Exactly. Yep.
Women, man.
All right. Any other plays?
We hit on Debo at the prior to even getting a wide receiver, so I feel like we don't have to talk about that.
What's up with the Carolina situation with all these guys? DJ Moore gets nothing. Baker Mayfield, I don't know what's happening with him.
He's not going to play. It's going to be Walker again. but
Oh, he's
DJ
not
Moore is
going to
going
play?
to. Yeah, but DJ Moore is going to be the guy.
Yeah, they
Because
said
they're building around him. They said that he's the piece to build around going forward, so he's not touchable.
DJ Moore?
Yeah, I think that's what I read.
So they said something about Steve Wilkes said like on Wednesday, I think it was like Marshall and Chenault look good and they're both gonna play a little bit. Like I don't love it because I don't love PJ Walker, but I really do like Terrence Marshall as a talent. Like I always liked him. He played on like those LSU teams with like all those good receivers too, didn't he? Like what wasn't he from that? Wasn't that where he came from? I'm pretty sure with like all those guys. Like I don't know if he played with Chase or if he played right after. I can't remember, but I think he played with some of those guys, either Jefferson or Chase, one of those two on LSU. He's like he's super talented. He must just not be like good in practice or something. There's a reason why he doesn't play.
Maybe it's the quarterback play that they've had recently. I did see him get targeted by that backup late in that game. So
no, but that Smith kid was playing over him all season. Robbie Anderson wasn't that great. Like I just don't. He there has to be a reason. He has to just be terrible in practice or something.
Well, McAdoo said Terrence Marshall is going to see a lot of opportunities moving forward once Robbie Anderson left and with CMC gone. 3,400. Crap quarterback, good defense.
Positive game script.
It's a positive game script, yeah. And he's 3,400. What does he need to do to get you over the like? Again, this is more like a Millie Maker play, but like I don't know. I think he's super talented. Like that's how I see it. But yeah, it's just another play. We can move on from the wide receivers if you guys don't have anyone else that.
Yeah, let's go to tight end. Well, we've got the easy tight end one is again I prioritized. That's who I had in my lineup too. I had Andrews. I prioritized him. 7,400 got a little bit of a price increase against Cleveland. He's first in target share. It's basically him and Kelsey are like all the tight ends for production. One of them's either first or one of them's either second in like basically every single category. Target share, touchdowns, receiving yards, you name it. I mean, the only worry is that seems like he's legitimately questionable, but he did return to practice today. I'm just reading. Today is Friday. So I think he should be a go against the Browns. So I think he's an elite play. And then Travis Kelce, Travis Kelce ownership was kind of shocking to me. It's just because it's like the marquee, it's like one of the marquee games, but he is 8K. That is tough to swallow and tough to build this week in general. We don't have like tons of glaring running back value like we did last week and whatnot, unless these Carolina guys get steamed. But, that's kind of just like forcing it because who really wants to play second-rate running backs against Tampa, especially in a timeshare. So like that would probably be bad chalk if they get steamed, but whatever. But then there's guys like Pitts. If you want to say, you can chase him every week. He did get a touchdown last week, which was massive for him. He's only 4,300. George Kittle is still kind of getting a little bit more usage every week. He got 10 targets, had 8 receptions, 83 yards, didn't get a touchdown at 16 fantasy points, which is good. Throw a touchdown in there and boom, you're off and running, especially at 5,300. Bobby's boy, Cade Otton, in play with a nice piece to stack with his boy Tom Brady and those Tom Brady stacks, right, Bobby?
Brady stack's going to be the shipper. You guys keep shitting on Brady.
Are you going to do Mike? No, Mike. Are you going to throw Cade?
Do I need to do Bobby? Do I need to do a Brady, Evans, Otton, Terrence Marshall, and Chuba Hubbard stack for all the money?
Foreman.
I think you could at most one. The Panthers. You don't want too many of those guys hitting your stuff. But Bucks are putting up 40 this week.
Bucks are putting up 40 this week. Oh God. Okay.
Ladder that team total. Then we should just be firing that team total.
Seriously.
Drive to New Hampshire. I'm probably going to be driving there tonight.
It's the lowest it's been, and I seen a tweet earlier. It's the lowest it's been.
All right, but what about
Brady in like 5 years?
What about the Broncos dude, Dulcich? How do you pronounce his name? The guy from Dulcich. Yeah, I mean, Alberto, healthy scratch last week. I mean, it's clear he's the guy. We all knew that on Showdown. Everyone played him on Showdown, but he did have a touchdown. He was wide open for another one that they missed. But he's 2,500 still. They didn't fix his price because he was on the Island game. So he's going to be massively owned, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, he should be very chalky. Him, Cade Otton, I think will be two of the probably most popular tight ends just because everyone likes the punt tight end. So, just from that standpoint, looking at it, you could just spend up just to be contrarian, just to say, screw it, I'm going to spend up because I think it will be a little different. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with that spot because I do think like Dulcich is good. And I do think that Otton is just in a good spot because Brady just peppers the tight end. Like you saw it when Otton was the guy a couple weeks ago. Like it doesn't matter who it is. He's gonna get the football. He's gonna drive methodically down the field, and that's how he does it. So I do think that both those guys are in good spots. But Dalton Schultz, I think, is a good pivot. Dak loves him. He's another guy. Like if you're not playing CD, maybe play a little bit of Dak. And I will amend your statement about everyone playing Dulcich. He was 12% owned. So not everyone played Mr. Dulcich.
Well, I did.
I did too. That's.
That's when you won. You got the 50. You got the 50. The 50.
That's right. He was a hero. He was one of the heroes on the JSU squad, for sure. But I was like, wait a second. He wasn't popular. He was like 12%, and he was
in higher stakes, and like the higher stakes, like smaller field stuff. He was definitely
he was popular in higher stakes because every projection site after what's his name was ruled out started hitting him. But earlier in the day, I think actually Randone had the Dulcich call.
He did on our show. Randone talked him up.
Randone, sneaky sharp. I'm telling you, sneaky sharp. Everyone hates him.
He knows his stuff. Randone definitely knows his stuff for sure. He's another guy. We get him on the shows whenever he's available. He's a good dude. Comes on our shows every once in a while. Sharp guy. So he had the call. It was a great call on the show, and he was a winner. But I think that Schultz is a pivot you could go to. He's like 3,600 or something. I think that you could play guys like, I don't know, David Njoku, I think is 4,200. You could play him. I'm trying to see what the price tag is for because the guy who looked pretty good to me, and he's probably more of like a Millie Maker play because no one's going to play him. There's no way. But Donald Parham is actually good, like big tight end. They use him in the red zone. Like I said, he's more of like you want a pivot at the tight end position that no one's going to have. I think he's a guy in Millie Maker formats you could look to. He splits with 3 other dudes at tight end, but he's a guy who gets valuable looks, third down, in the red zone, goal line. I think he's someone, as long as he's still cheap. I want to make sure. What's his price tag? He's 2,700. So, he didn't practice though on Thursday. He's in concussion protocol maybe. So make sure you check out on that because I don't know if he's going to be in or not. If he's out, then Gerald Everett becomes a better play.
Noah Fant caught my eye because I was getting so tilted. They kept like hitting him on like quick routes. At 3,100 in that game is probably a good spot for like a leverage play in that game. On the other side,
I just don't trust that they're not going to get the ball to DK and Lockett again this week.
Yeah, like
if you think that though, then Noah Fant's a good play, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But I don't know.
I'm trying to see here who else. Maybe Hawkinson.
Is he cheap still? Oh,
No, he's
4,800.
going to be low owned because he's 4,800, and he put up a nice 1 fantasy point against New England.
Darren Waller, another guy you want to keep track of because if he's out, if Foster Moreau is in and he's out, that's another guy who you could look to. 2,800 Raiders. Again, I think there's going to be a lot of cheap tight end options we're going to look at. Might spread the tight end ownership out though a little bit to where you just play the one you like the most, right?
Where's Kelsey? Like, what's his ownership at?
It's low because he's 8K.
Dude, Kelsey's a
gotta be low.
I got the play of the year. Little revenge play of the year. Little Evan Ingram.
Oh God.
Oh no. He's been better for what
10 targets 2 weeks ago, six targets
I'll
last
give you
week.
a better. Just play Hayden Hurst. He's a better revenge play.
I didn't even think of that. And you know what's good about the reason? So Burrow, stunk when he was being pressured because their offensive line is having so many problems. But Atlanta's 32nd in pressure rate. So it just screams to me that they're just going to be like if they're smart, they just keep their foot on the pedal and pass. Screw Joe Mixon. Like he's not doing it, getting it done. Jamar Chase, Higgins, Hurst, Boyd, they'll get it done.
I like that call.
Robert Tonyan had a big game.
Big Bob had a very nice game last week.
Yeah, he's another guy.
All right. It's that time. It's that time, boys. Everyone's favorite segment, the Bobby Gomes DFS defense segment. JSU will give one play. Bobby will give his multiple plays, his favorite plays, and then we'll ship all the money. So how are things looking on the defensive end this week, Bobby?
Let JSU go first.
No. This is
you're going
segment.
first. You're going
no,
first.
This is
your
segment. You have to go, first. Bobby. That's
you're
the
going
rule.
First. No. You're going first. You're going first.
Why? I want to know why, Bobby. Why am I going first?
Because you skipped the show last week. You're out having fun beating me.
He went there.
So what does that mean?
So you get
I don't want you to take.
All right, this is what we'll do. We'll do it by height. Whoever's taller between the two of you.
Yes. For once, my shortness helps me.
Oh, Kirk, you go first. What do you like? I don't know.
All right,
I haven't even given this much
I'll
thought.
just pull up ETR and do the defensive offensive line mismatch. And
all right, I'll do it.
Okay, I already gave the play actually. The Washington Commanders.
I like the Commanders. No, Rodgers isn't gonna. It's not gonna be that difficult. I don't know.
You don't know.
I'm gonna go with the Lions. 2,300 against the Chalk. You play it versus the Chalk.
That's bold.
That is bold. I will say. I mean, I do think the Jets for the price are probably the best defense, but for a low-owned defense. I think you could play someone like the Giants or the Raiders. I think both of those guys, they're cheap. They're going to be lower. Well, the Giants are cheap, 2,900, I guess. Going to be low owned.
How do you not play the Bucs if you have the money?
Because I'm not paying 3,900 for that. It is true though.
If you have the money, I know. It's like I just will always spend the money.
What about the Jags versus Daniel Jones?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I think all those for me, I think I'm gonna definitely be spending down the Falcons.
Oh, here's one.
2,400. Like, if you're not playing Burrow, you can still play. Like, I don't know if I would play Chase on those teams, but they don't need that much at 2,400 to get there. And their defense has been not terrible in making some plays. So,
what about this one?
Definitely spend down.
What about the Titans against Matt Ryan, who is so bad under pressure?
Yeah, I can get on board for the Titans. I just don't I definitely just don't. I want to make sure I'm not spending up too much at defense. I think we're going to want the salary.
I think the Titans is like the limit. It's like 3K. You got 2,600 Jets, 3K Titans, you could make a case for the 3,100 Jags.
Like even the Bucks, like they're in a good spot, but I think people are going to pay up for this spot. Like I don't know if people like if people weren't doing it, but if people weren't doing it, I'd be more interested in it. I think
you could also play the Cowboys at 4K.
Oh God, yeah, they're 4K.
Yeah, that's why none of us said them, because they're 4K.
Giants could be in play against the Jags.
Yep, I said the Giants. I like them.
Oh, you did? Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean, good segment, Bobby.
Yeah, me and JSU just killed that segment, and Bobby.
I think you guys killed a lot of the segments today.
We just owned your segment, your own segment. We just owned you. You gotta come back stronger next week. I want a full like 5-minute breakdown of defensive segment from Bobby Gomes next week.
I want to hear you say like adjusted sack rate, adjusted pressure. I want to hear like all these things, like, you know.
Yeah, you have to include
all these meaningless
tidbits. Get the people going.
All right, we've done. Oh, we got to do our favorite stacks for single entry small field. Or single entry, big field, just single entry, and or Millie Maker. Take it away, Phil. Bobby, lead it off this time.
Bucks.
No, Bobby, you can go last. I'll make JSU. We'll JSU will go first.
Play. I mean, that was the.
Yeah, I can just. The Bucks we're taking the flop lag with the Bucks here. It's coming. I'm pot committed.
You admit you're pot committed. At least you admit
because I went in last week. Like I thought it was going to come last week. Brady vengeance. You can't.
I hate to say it, but I nailed it.
The Brady
only vengeance. Because I know how it feels. And when JSU took them 30 seconds to sell me back on to Geno Smith, even though I said I'm never doing it again.
Top stack as of now. I think I'm going to go Baltimore Cleveland game. I think Baltimore. You play Lamar, play one of his guys. Bateman or Andrews, whoever's in, and who knows, maybe Andrews gets ruled out, or he practiced Friday, so I don't know. I think he plays, but you never know. So play one of those guys with them, and then run it back with like Cooper, Chubb, like someone like that. Like I think is very, very interesting for tournaments. I see points in that game. I think there's points on both sides.
I'm going to give two chalky ones because I don't think that ownership really matters this week for quarterback. Like I'm seeing like pretty spread out across the board between like 6 or 7 guys. So I don't really care who I just want to take the guys I like, and I like Lamar, and I think I'm going to play him hope that maybe Andrews is a little bit more banged up and that we get a big Bateman play in this game. And so I'll play that, and I'll either run it back with Cooper or Chubb. Obviously it will be easier to do it with Cooper because of salary constraints. It's going to be pretty tough to make a Chubb and Lamar lineup. So I'll do that. And the other one I like Joe Burrow. I mean, I think they're going to stay. I know it's chalk and whatever, but I think I'll play him with T. Higgins. And I don't even know if I'd run it back with anyone, with like Drake or anyone from Atlanta. I don't think I need a run back, to be honest with you.
No, you don't need to run back.
So
run backs are out.
If you play Bateman at wide receiver and don't play Andrews, you can make a team work with Nick Chubb and Cooper in there, and Lamar is your quarterback. Like I just plugged it in. You can definitely make that work because then you plug in like a punt defense and you plug in a cheap tight end like
Walker.
Let's just plug in any
chalk at running back.
Like so
the cheap it'll be Dulcich. It would be Dulcich.
Yeah, so let's just say you plug in like Cade Otton or Dulcich, whatever it is, 2,500 to 2,700 at tight end, right? Just plug them in, and you put in Nick Chubb, Cooper, Bateman, Lamar, and under 3K defense, right? That leaves you with around 5,800 for the last 3 spots. You can build something nice. You
could do chalk running backs. You could do Walker and freaking and Jacobs, and then you need like a cheaper wide receiver play, right?
I even think you could take out the cheap tight end and play Andrews in this build if you wanted to. Yeah, I still think you have enough.
I'll play around with it.
Yeah, I play around with it. That's an interesting build, though. I do like it, though, for tournaments.
All right, so that's a wrap.
That's where we're at.
All right, this has been the RG Run Pure Sports collaboration, RotoGrinders Run Pure Sports collaboration, Tournament Takes podcast, Week 7 edition, and we will catch you next week for Week 8. Thanks.